Alright guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today. For this one, we are now in Shanghai in mainland China, and we're going to do another out and about video for you. So I was recommended this place behind me, Mingri Brewing, by quite a few people. So we'll do as we always do, we'll go in, we'll have a little walk around, we'll try some of the beers. If they've got some food, we'll try some of the food, and we'll see what we think. But really looking forward to this one, my first time filming in Shanghai, which is a pretty interesting city, I have to say. So let's get started with this one, and I hope you guys enjoy it. Alright guys, so this is the exterior of the place here. We're actually right next to the river. I walked about 1 kilometre or so from my hotel to get here. So yeah, not too far away, but obviously in this heat it can be quite testing, of course, because it's very hot. You can even hear the cicadas and things, but you can see here they've obviously got this lovely outdoor terrace, which at this time of year, filming this one in July incidentally, but at this time of year this would be very nice in the evening, but a little bit more difficult in the daytime. But let's get started on this one then. Alright guys, so yeah, we had to cut there just when we came in, but you can see this is what the bar actually looks like on the ground floor. This is really quite nice. To say, very modern. You can see it does look more like a kind of cocktail bar or something rather than a specialist beer bar, but you can see they've got all photos of different beer events and things like that up here. But I have to say, it's a really nice space. It is very distinctly sort of Asian or Chinese as well. Of course, I've been filming in here. We've just filmed the first tasting, which you'll see in a wee second. But yeah, I have to say, really nice little space actually. I'm not sure if there will be more upstairs and things like that, but you can see you can get your sort of shisha and things too. But yeah, there you can see you can get your own fans and things like that, which says I love Mingri. But yeah, let's go and get to this beer that I just finished filming. You'll see that in just a second. That's a little look round of the ground floor for you. Right guys, well, time for our first tasting then here at Mingri Brewing in Shanghai. So yeah, I thought we would start off kind of similar to as we often do. So the first beer that we have is this one. They gave me the card out the menu to show you. So it's a German Pilsner coming in at 5.3% ABV. I can't really say the Chinese name of this one, but the English translation, according to the guy behind the bar, is the selfishness of the winemaker. That was how it came out in his translate, so it was quite funny. But yeah, we have this one, lovely half-litre of German-style Pilsner. When it came, it had a lovely finger of a frothy, I would say like perfect white head. You can see lovely little bit of natural haze to it, but I think that might, yeah, that's definitely the condensation on the glass there, because it's pretty warm in Shanghai as you saw. But yeah, you can see nice steady carbonation in that one, which is what you want from the Pilsner, of course. Lovely pale golden straw colour. Yeah, this should be quite nice. For those of you who don't know, the main difference between the German Pilsner and the Czech Pilsner in terms of flavour is the German one tends to be a little bit drier, almost, whereas the Czech one's a little bit more yeasty and slightly creamy, and quite often the hoppiness in the Czech Pilsner will be a little bit more bitter, because the Czech hops just have that kind of more natural, spicy floral element to them. The Czech Sats or Žatec versus the German noble characters, which are a little bit smoother, of course. But yeah, in terms of what you'd expect from a Pilsner style beer, appearance is that's it. You know, you've got what you would expect. So let's have a wee look at the nose on this one and see what it's all about. Oh, that smells good. That does smell good. It actually smells a little bit more Czech than German in some ways. Like you've got the smoothness and the creaminess of the Czech like malts and yeast, but you have the smoothness of the German hops in this one, which is quite interesting. So yeah, of course the Pilsner is an interesting style because it originated in the now Czech city of Pilsen. And at that time it was part of the Austro-Hungarian Empire, and the city was lived in by both Germans and Czechs, and this style of beer was developed in that city by a Bavarian from Germany, not even an Austrian German. So yeah, and that of course is Pilsner Urquell or Plzeňský Prastroj. But yeah, aroma wise, this is really nice. It smells pretty damn authentic, and that's what I look for in this style of beer. You've got that nice kind of Czech creaminess to it and the lovely German noble hop. So yeah, the backbone of the beer, lovely fresh white bready character in there. Yeah, fresh white bready bread crust in there, a little bit of cracker, a little bit of wood, little touch of brown bread as well. Yeah, a little touch of brown bread in there. It's got a little bit of sweetness to it. But yeah, McVitie's digestive biscuit, sweeter caramel. You've got that dry kind of, yeah, you've got that slightly dry Pilsner malty character in there. But the malty base in this beer really comes across as being very smooth, very bready, very creamy. So I have to say, I can certainly appreciate that about this beer. And the more that you smell of it, the more you get that kind of biscuity sweetness. But yeah, on the hoppy side of things, you get that lovely little bit of earthy hop. You get that lovely little bit of smooth earthiness, which you'd expect from German noble hops. Hallertauer Tettnang, pardon me. There's a little bit of a kind of herbal note in there. Nice bright grassiness and floral character. Then the fruity side of this beer is again what you would expect from the style. You've got that lovely, you've got a lovely little bit of oily pear, sultana, a little bit of gooseberry, these kind of things. It's a lovely smelling beer, this one. I'm very, very curious to see how it turns out. So yeah, in English, this one is The Selfishness of the Winemaker, a 5.3% Pilsner, my first beer here at Mingri in Shanghai. Let's get stuck in. Slange, skål, cheers, Gambe. That's pretty nice. I'd say it's one of the wetter Pilsners I've come across, actually. It doesn't have so much of the kind of dry crispness that you might expect. But yeah, in terms of the flavour profile that it gives you, it's pretty good, actually. I do think it needs just that little bit more crisp dryness in the back of the palate, but it's still a really nice, easy drinking beer. And I was really thirsty from walking here just because of the heat outside. But yeah, the way this one goes together is it's hitting the spot. Let's just say that this beer will hit the spot. Yeah, this is good. This is good. So let's break the flavour down then. The backbone of the beer. As you'd expect, you've got a little bit of fresh white bready bread crust in there. You can feel that forming the base. Further forward on the middle third of your palate, there's a little bit of woodiness in there. You've got some cracker, some nice wholemeal brown bread above that. The brown bread comes out a little bit more into the aftertaste as well. But yeah, on top of that, you have you do get a nice, there's a nice fluffy white bread, and then there's a little bit of crisp McVitie's digestive biscuit, of course. So you've got the brown bread, the fluffier white bread in there. In the dead centre of your palate, there's a little touch of sweet caramel, wee bit of McVitie's digestive biscuit, and yeah, you have at the back of the palate, you do get a little touch of there is a little bit of that Pilsner malty crispness, but not too much. The yeasty character on the back third of your palate with this beer is a little bit more kind of crackery and woody and stuff like this. So yeah, that's quite interesting for sure. Yeah, interesting stuff. The malty and yeasty side of the beer does come to the fore a little bit further into the aftertaste too. So yeah, on the hoppy side of things then, back corners of the palate, there's a nice little bit of earthiness in there. There's a little bit of herbal character as you move further forward, and then yeah, as you push further forward toward the front corners of the palate, you've got some more floral aromaticity coming out of this one. Then round the front curve of your tongue, it's definitely a bit lighter and more grassy. It's not the most bitter of pilsners. Remember, the Czech version of this style will be like, it'll be about 30-ish IBUs. The German one's maybe slightly less. But yeah, this one is quite low in terms of its IBU. Maybe should have just a little bit more IBU to it. But yeah, the front third of your palate, you've got the bread underneath, of course. And then, yeah, on top of that, you get the fruity side of the beer. You get that nice oily bubble where the fruity, juicy esters roll their way out. So for me, fruity side of this beer, you've got a little bit of sultana in there. You've got a little bit of, you've got a little bit of sultana. You've got a little bit of pear, obviously. Then as you come further forward, there's maybe a little hint of apricot, a wee bit of gooseberry, and maybe a little bit of a more zesty citrus going further forward. But yeah, all in all, quite interesting this one, I have to say. I do like how this one goes together. This is going to be a nice easy drinking beer to finish. Mouthfeel wise, yeah, I would say top end of light bodied, smooth carbonation. The IBUs, I think this one's probably about 20 or something like that. Malt basis we'll say a bit dry underneath, smooth in the middle, slight bit of sweetness on top. Then yeah, you've got some oily fruity character to this one. So in terms of what you'd expect from a German Pilsner, I think this one's in pretty good. It's pretty good. So yeah, I think we can leave it at that for this one. This was The Selfishness of the Winemaker, 5.3% Pilsner, our first beer here at Mingri Brewing in Shanghai. Ganbei. Right guys, well, let's have a little look at the tap list and drinks list here at Mingri Brewing. Normally I would show you the taps at the bar, but yeah, in here they don't really have a tap list in the same way that they do in other places. But yeah, this is the very nice drinks menu that I was given. So they start off here. These are the different kind of measures and stuff you can get for wine and spirits and stuff like this, but they do have a very wide selection of beer, and there's a couple more over the page. So yeah, you can see, what's that? That is 18 beers that they have available. So let's just kind of go through these. You can see they've got a New England double IPA up here. This one you can see another New England double IPA, Hoppy Family. Here, Highway to the Danger Zone, that's a quadruple IPA. That could be quite interesting, of course. Then down here they've got the Cool Peak West Coast IPA. I love a West Coast IPA. Gomorrah, I think, is one of their more well-known beers, actually. I have heard of this one, so I will need to try it. Then an ESB, not my favourite style, so I guess we probably won't end up trying that one. The Pilsner, of course. Then down here, Polar Night Tropical Stout. I noticed tropical stouts are pretty popular in Asia, so maybe I need to try one of these. So that could be a good beer to try toward the end. The Mingri Saison. Then up here they've got a few other things. The Lime Cucumber Goza, Tomato Raspberry Goza as well, and then a Plum Goza. The Plum Goza could be an interesting one, actually. I think that would be my choice out of these three. Then down here there's the Kvike IPA. I don't think I've ever had a mainland Chinese brewed one of this. I know in Hong Kong, Yardley Brothers like to use Kvike yeast. So that could be an interesting one, especially with the Scandinavian connection. Hazy Dream, which is a New England IPA, 6.8% ABV. Then another double New England IPA here, Hazy, what's this one? Hazy Dream, the 5th anniversary edition. So I'm guessing these two beers are related. Maybe this is like a special edition version of it. Then down here, In For Session, New England IPA, 5.8% ABV. That's not much less than a normal IPA, in all honesty, so that's kind of interesting. Dai Lu, which is another New England IPA. Seems to be their hazies are quite popular here. And then they've got another IPA here, the Hop Kings 2023 edition. It's a single hop one, this, actually. I don't see that it says what hop they use, though. But yeah, that's a good mix of different things here. But if you go over the page, if I can get it to work, there are a few more. So I'm guessing these are the darker ones. So yeah, they've got the Newbie, which is a wit beer. These are quite popular in Asia still, actually, wit beers. I noticed in Italy they were very popular as well. Not so much in other places. 3 Bowls Drunk Triple. Might need to try one of these bigger ones, of course. Burning Fire, Wee Heavy. I do like a Wee Heavy, and that's cool to find a Scotch ale here. And then down here they have this one, which is a Braggot, Osmanthus Flower Braggot. So yeah, interesting stuff. Good selection of things. Now you can see the different prices of the beers here, and again they're selling them in 330s, 500s, 1.25 litres and 3 litres. So yeah, and this is one of the funny things. I mean, drinking 1.25 litres of lime cucumber goza, that would be quite hard going, I think. But still, yeah. So you can see for a 330, you're going to pay about 50 RMB, which is what, about £5.50 sterling, €6, something like this. And then yeah, for the half litre you're going to pay about 65. So yeah, prices are fairly decent here, but you can see all the IPAs are listed here. These are the ones that I've just taken you through. And then the same up here. You can see that Highway to Danger. I think I need to try that one. That sounds like a challenge accepted moment. And then yeah, they've got the Pilsner down here as well, which I think is what I have. So I've just had that one. Yes, these menu pages are a little bit difficult to get, but then yeah, over here they've got the other ones, the wit beer, the 3 Bowls triple, the burning wee heavy. Yeah, I think we'll need to try the wee heavy a bit later on. Yeah, you can buy these things in bottles and cans. I don't know if I can really take those away with me though, unfortunately, but yeah, it's pretty cool. But yeah, obviously they've got a selection of different wines and things like this if you're really into that. But of course, if you come to a beer brewery, you should really be into the beer. But some cocktails, a mojito's always nice. Long Island iced tea, whiskey sour, I never understood that one. Berry watermelon, that could be quite good, especially if you like gozas and things. But yeah, coffees and stuff like this as well. Different teas. Tea, of course, is hugely popular in China. Don't know why it's not focusing at the moment. But then yeah, you get your ice cream and milkshakes and stuff like that there, Coke, Sprite and all of this sort of thing. And yeah, some spirits. Yeah, you've got a list of different things here: gin, rum, whiskey. They spell it the Irish way, which is good as well, because none of these are single malts except the Glenfiddich. I'm so pleased with that. But yeah, that's a little quick look at the drinks menu for you here at Mingri Brewpub. So let's see what our second beer is going to be. Right guys, time for tasting number 2 then here at Mingri Brewing. So it seems that the beers I showed you in the menu are not the ones that are on tap, so it's a little bit confusing. I'm not sure if something is getting a bit lost in translation, but I guess that's what's going to happen in China sometimes. Yeah, but yeah, I went up and I asked him, I said I want to try a West Coast IPA. And so, yeah, he said, oh, we have a new one, try this. So, the beer that we're going to try, this is pretty funny, is this one. You can see the orange man on there. So, I'm not sure if this one is called Learn from Hops 1, or if it's called Make IPA Great Again. But yeah, this is the little card he gave me to show on the video. So, yeah, this one is a West Coast IPA, 6.8% ABV. We'll see how we go with this, but yeah, I thought that was really funny. So, yeah, as you can see, we've got the I Love Mingri glass, which I thought was pretty cool. I did actually ask him for a small one, but he gave me this, so yeah. Again, I guess I'm drinking more beer than I thought I was going to. But yeah, anyway, when the beer poured, it had a lovely finger of a frothy, I would have said cream-coloured head there. You can see this one, it's a lovely kind of pale golden straw colour, this beer. So with West Coast IPAs, as I've told you on the channel many a time, for me there are 2 ways this style can go. They can be a little bit more sort of bready and biscuity, such as Pliny the Elder from Russian River, or they can be a bit more oily and caramelly, such as the Torpedo from Sierra Nevada. This one, just going by the colour, I think is going to be a little bit more bready and biscuity leaning, because it's, you know, it's just brighter basically. So yeah, you can see little bits of carbonation in this one, but it has quite a nice crystal clear appearance. Remember, West Coast IPAs rely mainly on barley malt for their malt base. New England IPAs have wheat and oats in them as well, which is what gives them a lot of their haziness. But yeah, I think in terms of appearance, we've seen this kind of appearance many a time from West Coast IPAs. But let's have a little look at the nose on this one and see what it's like. I have to say that does smell very nice. Yeah, on the nose, this one is kind of pretty much what you would expect from a West Coast IPA. I'll say straight away, it gives you the malty backbone, the breadiness, the sweetness, the green qualities, the oily fruits. It gives you everything you would want, in all honesty. So, Yeah, I have to say I do like how this one goes together actually. So it gets a big thumbs up from me. Um, yeah, so I think the backbone of this beer, you've got fresh kind of brown bready bread crust in there. Obviously you've got little hints of wood and cracker and stuff like this, which you very often get. But nice big sweet brown bready character. Lovely kind of fluffy white bready notes in this one as well. You've got a little touch of like a toasty bread and buttery sort of note to the beer. Definitely some biscuit, McVitie's digestive biscuit in there. I think, just going from the aroma, I think this beer is using American two-row malts. It just has that distinctive character to it, but it could also be a little bit of English Maris Otter. I wouldn't be surprised if that's in here, just because of the way the biscuit comes out. But yeah, sweet caramel. Yeah, definitely some sweet caramel in there. Yeah, McVitie's digestive biscuit, sweet caramel. The thing is, it's interesting with this one because the colour of this beer, as I say, is quite blonde, and it gives the impression that the beer is going to be more biscuity and bready and stuff. But it actually smells very oily and sweet in a sense. So I'm curious to see how this translates into the flavour. But yeah, it's quite funny actually. The bar guy just went out the door there. You can hear the increase in the volume from outside because of the cicadas. But yeah. The malty side of this beer is really nice. It's pretty much what you would expect. But yeah, on the hoppy side of things, so remember with IPAs you have three kinds of hoppings. You've got early addition hopping, which takes place within the first hour of the wort boil. That gives you mainly bitterness and a deeper, danker aroma. You've got late addition hopping, which takes place in the last half hour of your wort boil. That gives you a little bit of bitterness, mainly flavour and aroma, but it gives you a brighter green component in terms of flavour and aroma. And you've got dry hopping, which takes place after the wort boil is complete. That's all about flavour and aroma, and it gives you a very bright green component. So West Coast IPAs tend to use all three kinds of hoppings, which is why they're deeper and danker. New England's use mainly late addition and dry hopping, which is why they're brighter and more juicy. So you do have that deeper, danker green quality to this one, but at the same time it's quite bright. So I think a little bit of early addition hopping in this beer, but quite a bit of late addition and dry hopping. But you've got a nice floral aromaticity to this one, nice bright oily grassy characters in there as well. And then yeah, you've got the big oily fruity characters. There's something very familiar about this beer. I wouldn't be surprised if this is like an old school sea hop beer, which maybe is what they're talking about with Make IPAs Great Again. Go back to the West Coast IPAs again. There you go. The Orange Man. Don't know if he even drinks IPA, but yeah. For me, the fruity side of this beer, you've got some nice. There is a nice little bit. I think there's Cascade in this. There's definitely some Cascade in this one, and I think a little bit of Chinook as well, because you've got that grapefruity sort of thing. You've got that big sort of sultana, oily, peary kind of character that Cascade will give you. There's a bit of mango in there as well, so I think some Citra for sure. And then there's a lot of orange, so I want to see Amarillo in this one. Mosaic is obviously an option as well, but there's quite a lot of orange for me, and it's quite a zesty, oily orange, so I want to see Amarillo. But the aroma of this one is very, very nice, and this is proper old school. So as I always say, take a bit of time to enjoy the aroma of the beer before you get stuck in. But I think it's about time we try this one and see what it's all about. So yeah, not sure of the exact name of this beer, but it's this one, 6.8% ABV. West Coast IPA. Let's try this one and see what it's all about. Slàinte Gambé. That's pretty damn good actually. That is pretty good. Yeah. That's a really, really enjoyable beer, I have to say. Yeah, I think it is proper old school, this one. It does lean a bit more toward the bready, biscuity end of the West Coast spectrum, but it gives you everything you would want from this style, and it does have a wee bit more bitterness. Many of these more modern takes on the West Coast IPA, in my experience, are often just lacking that little bit in terms of, quite often they're just lacking a little bit in terms of the bitterness in the beer, but this one certainly doesn't. This is proper old school, this, so that's why it gets a big thumbs up from me. So yeah, backbone of the beer then. Fresh brown bready bread crust, a little touch of woodiness in there, of course, and a little bit of cracker, as you're very often going to get. Then you've got a layer of brown bread, and they're quite a sweet brown bread actually. And on top of that, there's a wee bit of white bread. It's a bit hard to tell actually. I think it's a mix of American and maybe British malt in this one. I've got a feeling, but yeah. I don't know if they really produce their own malts and stuff here in China, and honestly, I really couldn't tell you, but it wouldn't surprise me if there is a little bit of that going on. But yeah, on top of the brown bread, you've got the white bready character, as I say, then you get a bit of toasty caramel, you've got a more oily caramel in there as well, and then you've got a wee bit of like McVitie's digestive biscuit. So yeah, the malty base in this one is quite oily. It does lean more toward that oily sort of thing, but yeah, bready, more biscuity flavoured West Coast IPA, I think, is a good way to describe this one. So it really is good. So big thumbs up to these guys. Yeah, like I say, I do like how this goes together for me. But yeah, on the back third of your palate, of course, you start to get some of the yeasty side of the beer, which is like a sweet brown bread with a little bit of a more farmhousey white bread outside of it. So yeah, definitely back third of your palate, you can feel the flavour is taller. Then as you move further forward into the middle third of your palate, it kind of squashes down a wee bit more. But yeah, malty yeasty side of this beer is really good. On the hoppy side of things, back corners of the palate, there's a little bit of earthiness in there, but as you move further forward, it's a wee bit herbal, but then you start to get the sort of danker, piney, resiny notes out of this one. And you also get the kind of floral aromatic spice at the front corners of your palate, then round the front curve of the tongue. It's distinctly lighter and more grassy and zesty in a sense. So yeah, I like that about this one. The front third of your palate then, and the fruity side of the beer. Yeah, fruity side of this beer for me, it is pretty old school with the West Coast IPA, so I like it. At the back of that front third of your palate, you've got a nice you've got a nice little bit of a kind of stronger grapefruity sort of thing coming out of this one. Then as you move further forward, you do get that. I think there's definitely Chinook and Cascade in this one, I think, with the piney resin and the grapefruit. So yeah, bit of grapefruit in there, a sort of oily, peary type character, sultanas of course. Yeah, and as you move further forward from that, you can feel there's a little bit like juicy mango and passion fruit in there. I do think citra in this one. As you reach the middle of that front third of your palate, there's a little bit of oily pear, and yeah, into the front half of the front third of your palate, it gets a little bit more kind of lemony and zesty, maybe a bit of Centennial. I wouldn't be surprised if there was Centennial in this one, but there is quite a little bit of orange in there, so that's got to be Mosaic or Amarillo in this beer actually. But again, the way this goes together is really, really nice. Let's finish off with the mouthfeel then. So mouthfeel wise, yeah, mid-bodied, carbonation is very, very smooth. It's got a little bit of an oily, slick mouthfeel to it. Yeah, a little bit of an oily, slick mouthfeel to this one. The IBU count in this beer, I think it's maybe about 80-ish IBUs. It doesn't feel madly bitter, but it's pushing toward that higher end. The malt base, as we say, a bit dry underneath, smooth in the middle, a little bit oily and sweet on top, and you've got that lovely oily, fruity character coming out of this one. So yeah, the way that this beer goes together, I think, is really nice. Very good West Coast IPA, this one. I can see why people recommended Mingri to me. I'm quite happy with this beer. Let's leave it at that for this one, and we'll see what else we can do. I think we'll do another 2 or 3 beers here, because they're pretty good. Catch you in a second. Right guys, let's have a little look at the food menu then here at Mingri, and it seems to be quite extensive, so that's pretty cool actually. You always want a good selection of food when you're having a few beers. So you can see, good selection of stuff, but just so you have an idea of the currency. Let's just say, to work back to Hong Kong dollars from RMB, you sort of want to add about 10%, so maybe 58 RMB is going to be like 65 Hong Kong dollars. That means £6.50, €7, maybe $7.50 American, something like that, or $8 American roughly. So that gives you an idea of how to work out the prices of these things. But yeah, good selection of salads there. You can see roasted mushrooms, buffalo cheese, mixed vegetable, smoked salmon, all of this kind of thing. Over here they've got some different kinds of soup, cream mushroom, vegetable, seafood, tomato. There's obviously a picture of your seafood tomato. Prices there are quite reasonable as well. The seafood, of course, costs a little bit more, but yeah, they've got pizza, pastas, and burgers, so you can get spaghetti bolognese, cream mushroom, spaghetti, tomatoes, all of this. A few different pizzas as well. I noticed this in China. Pizzas tend to be very, very thin, actually, which is interesting. But yeah, you've got a pulled pork burger with chips, beef burger, bacon cheeseburger for about, those are about £7, something like that, which is pretty good price actually. 75 Hong Kong dollars, so it's still a little bit cheaper than Hong Kong, of course. But yeah, you've got barbecue pork ribs and things like this, garlic chicken, German crispy pork knuckle. That seems to be quite a popular one. I've seen that in a few beer places over here. And you get different steaks and things like that. So if you really want to, you can spend about 80 sterling, 800 Hong Kong dollars or so on a meal. So yeah, they've got a good variety of stuff here. But yeah, they've got some snacks there, a sort of meat and cheese platter, of course, cold cut cheese platter, I'm guessing that one is. Yeah, spicy chicken wings, french fries, seaweed salt pepper fries, cheese nachos and things like that. Pretty good little selection of bar snacks there as well. Over here you've got garlic bread and things, that's quite tempting. Spicy soft shell crab, well, I can't really eat seafood, but I'm sure there will be people that will enjoy that. And then down here they've got the desserts, tiramisu, cheesecake and brownie cake. There is even more, if I can get the page to turn. So yeah, you can get brunch and things. You get an American brunch or a British brunch, which is quite interesting. I don't know if the British would be healthy enough to eat fried spinach right enough, that's one of the things. But yeah, you can get a lunch set as well, which actually looks pretty decent. That's pretty good value, I have to say, which is good. I'm actually here in time to get that one if I want. Then yeah, you can also get a high tea, which is pretty good, and that includes a few different things. So yeah, there is more too. You've got afternoon wine in there as well. It's good. You can get a little sausage platter and things like that, and that's 128 RMB. These prices here are pretty good actually, I have to say. And yeah, you can get specialty barbecue food. So pigeon is a very popular one in China, roast pigeon. It's alright, not my personal favourite, but still, they are pretty good. You can get tiger shrimp, squid skewers, grilled sausage, barbecue beef skewers and things like that. These are pretty interesting. I have to admit, I do like the skewers actually. Some of those are pretty good. I like the lamb ones, I have to say. But yeah, you get set meals and things like this as well. A 2-person set, which is quite good. And again, 320 RMB for 2 people to eat. That's okay. Maybe a little bit, I don't know if it's a bit expensive for Shanghai. I don't know what the wages are like here and things like that. But yeah, they've got some good sets and things. As I say, good variety on the menu. Seasonal things here, garlic crayfish. Of course, in the winter, you get mini hot pot and things. So yeah, good selection of stuff there. I guess they do this for half a year and then this for half a year. And you can also contact them if you want to have like a specialist party or something. So yeah, quite an impressive mix of things on the food menu. I'll need to have a little think and see what I want to order because I am a little bit hungry. But yeah, that's your food menu here at Mingri. Alright guys, well, time for tasting number 3 then here at Mingri. So yeah, the next beer is one that I was very, very curious about, and in honesty I couldn't resist it because I don't think I've tried a Chinese brewed version of this particular sub-style. So yeah, hopefully this is a good one. But this particular beer is this one. It's called Highway to the Danger Zone. It comes in at 12.8% ABV, and this is a New England Hazy Imperial Quadruple, whatever you want to call it, IPA. Now, this beer is among the strongest I've tried in the IPA category ever, and I think it might well be the strongest hazy IPA that I've ever tried. I would need to check that, but I think potentially it could well be. But yeah, it tells you on the card here that this one is hopped with Strata, Sabro, Idaho 7 and Galaxy, all of which we know quite well. Out of these hops, all of them are American except Galaxy. Strata is going to give you about 16% alpha acid, that lovely kind of strawberry, gooseberry, melon type flavour. Sabro is going to give you that big orangey, mandarin-y note, but with coconut underneath, about 14% alpha acid if I remember rightly. Idaho 7 is about 14% as well, and it's going to give you that lovely kind of mango, papaya, apricot-y sort of thing. Then Galaxy is your Australian hop, as I say, about 14% alpha acid again, and it's going to give you grapefruit, mango, passion fruit, and quite a lot of pineapple from what I remember. But yeah, this beer I think will be pretty damn impressive. So I was given it in this. I actually asked for like a smaller measure of this one, but I was told this is 330 millilitres, but to be honest, I'm not sure I believe them on that. I think this is an American pint. So yeah, really not sure what to make of that in all honesty. But yeah, when the beer poured, it had a lovely kind of finger of a frothy, I would say kind of creamy coloured head there, but that's faded away to be, you know, not, it's faded away to be just a nice kind of thin foamy layer. I think to the naked eye, I think to you guys, this beer is appearing a little bit more ambery than it actually is, but it's a very bright sort of mango juice colour. This one, I always like comparing New England IPAs to different fruit juices because that's just what they remind me of. There's not much in the way of visible carbonation with this one. But that's kind of what you'd expect with a New England IPA, especially with one at this level of ABV. So you can see the haze in this beer is pretty comprehensive. It's definitely not the soupiest and gloopiest of beers that I've come across in this particular style category, but the appearance is what you'd expect. So yeah, positive things I have to say about this one in terms of its appearance. It looks great, but yeah, haziness is good. Remember, that depends on the oak content, wheat content, and to a degree what yeast you use. But nothing really surprising about this beer in terms of its appearance when you consider what style it is. It looks good, quite happy with it. So let's have a little look at the nose on this one then and see what it's all about. Yeah, I will say the nose is pretty mild in this one. You have to take it in really deeply to get all of these things. Oh, my food just arrived. We'll check that out in a minute. Thank you, Cecilia. So, yeah. Yeah, the nose of this one, sorry, brain just lost it there. But yeah, the backbone of this beer, it's really quite sweet actually. I get a lot of oatiness out of this one. As I've said to you in many occasions, the New England IPAs have a few different elements you should think about. You know, sort of farmhousey, yeasty character, rye grainy notes, wheaty bitiness, oaty creaminess, barley malt bread, and also the the sweeter side of things. With this one being 12.8% ABV, it has it does have a good degree of sweetness to it. It has a little bit of that Skittles note that you can sometimes get from this style. But the backbone of the beer, fresh white bready bread crust, a little bit of Jacob's cream cracker, of course. Good little touch of like brown bread in there, fluffy white bread, a more dense white bread as well. You do get a little bit of wheaty bitiness in the top of the nose, right enough. And there's some very, very nice kind of, there's some very nice sort of, like Werther's Original butter candy, butterscotchy notes coming out of this beer. So, yeah, the way that goes together, I think, is really, really nice. Yeah, Werther's Original butter candy, butterscotch, McVitie's digested biscuit. The malty base in this one is pretty much what you'd expect. I would say that this beer, though, is a New England IPA. It's more oaty leaning rather than anything else. So, Yeah, I like this. You can see the glass on this one is a little bit different as well. I do like that with this one. I have to admit, I like the Mingri symbol. So yeah, green side of this beer, very floral, nice and oily. I do suspect there's a bit of cryo in this because the green component is quite oily. There's a little touch of earthiness in there, a little bit of herbal character of course, but mainly quite grassy and quite oily. And for me, the beer, I had a little bit of gas there, sorry. Oh, my pizza just arrived as well. That's awesome. We're going to see this in a second. Okay, we should see it. So, for me, the grassy side of this beer is really nice and really, really oily. So, yeah, cryo. Pretty sure there's cryo in this. The fruity side of this one's lovely though. You can smell the coconut from the sabro throughout the beer, absolutely. But yeah, there's a little bit of peachy sharpness in there. There's lots of passion fruit, big juicy ripe mango. That's going to be from the Galaxy and from the Idaho 7 in this one. What's the other hop in here again? It's yeah, Strata. Okay. Maybe some of the sharpness that I'm picking up is peach is maybe some of the melon actually, because yeah, Strata can give you that little bit of a sharper melon. So maybe maybe there's a bit of melon in this one. I do definitely get the juicy strawberry from the Strata and the gooseberry as well. And yeah, the coconut and the orange from the Sabro's really apparent as well. But aroma-wise, it's a really, really nice smelling beer, this one. Highway to Danger Zone. I don't know if they have this in cans, but I would be very, very tempted to buy a can of this one to take away with me. That would be pretty cool. But yeah, let's try this one then and see what it's all about. So, Highway to the Danger Zone, a quadruple IPA, 12.8% ABV. This is going to be a monster. Slange, Skål, cheers, Gambe. I'm going to say straight away, it is good, but it's absolutely a sipper. This is a beer that you have and you enjoy it over an hour or two, an hour and a half, something like that. But it is really, really nicely done. So thumbs up to the Mingri guys for this. This is good. Yeah, very happy with that. First impression, very oaty leaning, very juicy, very oily New England IPA. We can say that. The backbone of this beer, fresh white bready bread crust, that lingers there. You've got a nice little bit of, you do have a nice little bit of cracker out of this beer too. So yeah, there's a nice little bit of like Jacob's cream cracker, something like that, in the base of the beer. But yeah, certainly a little bit of sweeter brown bread in there, fluffier white bread, fluffier white bread in there. You can feel that denser wheaty character as well. You do get a little bit of wheaty bitiness out of this beer further back on the palate. As I've said before as well, it depends where your wheat comes from. If your wheat comes from, say, from Europe, it's going to be that little bit more bitey. If it comes from America, it's going to be a wee bit more smooth. So yeah, the wheaty bitiness in this one is great, but the wheat gives you a good little bit of smoothness and density to the beer. On top of that, you can feel the oatiness in this beer. It's very, very fresh, very smooth and very creamy. So down the middle line of your palate, you feel that creamy oaty character, a little bit drier out toward the edges of the palate. But in the very centre of your tongue, you can feel that little bit of Werther's Original, butter candy, butterscotch. That's the booziness of the beer. At 12.8% ABV, like I say, this one is a monster. This is one of the strongest New England hazies that I've ever tried, ever. So I would emphasise that. But it's really, really good actually. So, yeah, this is, as I say, just going to be a sipper. I'm glad my food came with this one because this is a monster, and there are maybe 2 other beers that I want to try from these guys. So, yeah, after we go from the IPA, we're going to go to the sours and to the more malty side of things, of course. But, yeah, quite happy with this. Really quite happy with this. On the yeasty side of things, on the back of your palate with this beer. Now, the yeasty flavour in this beer does give it a little bit of this kind of Skittles type flavour, which is quite interesting. I find there's one of the yeasts, there's one of the quite popular New England IPA yeasts that gives you this flavour. So there's a bit of this kind of Skittles flavour, particularly in the middle of your palate into the aftertaste that comes out in the beer. But at the back of the palate you can feel it's like a dense white bready character in this one, a bit more of a kind of brown bready sort of thing. And then yeah, you've got that little bit of Jacob's cream cracker or something like that. It's like a little bit of a farmhousey bready character from the yeast. On the hoppy side of things, there's a wee bit of earthiness in there, a little bit of a kind of more herbal sort of thing, and as you move further forward there's a wee bit of pine resin and a wee bit of floral aromatic spice to this one. But I do think there's a bit of cryo going on in this beer, or Lupo Max, or you know, something like this. It's not just pure T90 pellets that are in this one. But yeah, as you move further forward on the sides of your palate, there are nice floral aromatic spice. Then round the front curve of the tongue, it's a little bit lighter, more grassy, and there's a wee bit of zestiness too. So yeah, the way all of that goes together, I think, is really, really nice. So, the fruity side of the beer, for me, the fruity side of this beer is kind of what you would expect if you know these hops. It's kind of giving you, it's quite typical of the style as well. At the back of that front third of your palate, there's a slightly peachy note to this one, definitely melon from the strata as well. So I'm getting a bit of peach, which is, you know, it's probably going to be a mix of Galaxy and Idaho 7 giving you that. But yeah, bit of peach on the top, the melon underneath. As you move further forward, passion fruit, oily sort of, you know, juicy mango in there. And then yeah, as you move further forward from that, you have yeah, juicy mango in there. There's a little bit of pineapple in there, papaya as well, apricots for sure. But then yeah, as you move into the front half of that front third of your palate, you can feel there's a bit of like gooseberry underneath, the coconuts there from the Sabro. The coconut lingers into the aftertaste as well. Then yeah, you've got the juicy kind of strawberry notes out of this one too, which I think is great. And a wee bit of zestiness. There's a little bit of a lemony, limey character on the very front tip of your tongue. But yeah, all in all, I can feel the booze going to my head with this particular beer. But it's actually really enjoyable. I could have done with about half of this, but you know, these are the measures they sell, and they don't serve like a little 200 or 150ml in Mingri for some reason. That would be quite good actually, if they did a small 150ml and then you could try it. They've got a lot of interesting strong beers here, that's the thing. But yeah, to round off this one then, the mouthfeel. For me, this beer, I would say, yeah, bottom end of full bodied, smooth carbonation, a mix of creamy and oily and slick. The IBU count in this one's maybe about 30 or 40 IBU. The malt base a little bit smooth underneath. Yeah, a bit smooth underneath. Malt, you know, yeah, dry underneath, a bit smoother in the middle, slightly sweeter and creamy on top. Then you've got that lovely, oily, juicy, fruity sort of thing. But yeah, the way everything goes together in this beer is good. This is a very, very good New England hazy IPA, this one. But it is definitely the highway to the danger zone, because I can feel it already. So yeah, let's leave it at that for this one, and let's try some food now that it's arrived, because I need it. After this beer, I do need it. Catch you guys in just a second. Cheers. Alright guys, well, as you would have heard during the last tasting section, my food arrived, so I kept it simple and I decided to go for a salami pizza and some fries, because you know, it's good beer food. This guy really has had an effect. This is the quadruple IPA, so I need something a bit simple and heavier to kind of soak all that up before we do our last few tastings. So let's get started on this one. Really looking forward to this actually. Okay guys, so let's taste this food. This should be pretty straightforward, because you know, I wanted something simple but something good. So if you order pizza in China, one thing I think you're going to notice is that they love these very, very thin pizzas. So it's almost a little bit like it's almost a little bit like a kind of flatbread or something, just with a bit of pizza on top rather than being a sort of thick base. pizza. That's different in Hong Kong, of course, because you can get pretty much any kind of pizza that you want. But yeah, you can see it looks pretty good, this one. Let's just try it and see. Yeah, I mean, it's solid enough. It's beer food. You want something that's going to soak up the booze a little bit so you can drink a bit more, and this is certainly going to do the trick. The sauce is really nice. The cheese is good. It's got a little bit more flavour to it. I mean, it's not just pure mozzarella. It feels like it has a little bit of cheddar or something like that mixed in just to give it a bit more flavour. And the sauce, as I say, is quite rich. So quite happy with that. Let's try the little bit with the meat here and see what the salami is actually like. Yeah, the salami, it's more American style salami than Italian salami, which obviously, or Danish salami or whatever, German salami, which has a lot more flavour to it, but it's still good, it's still enjoyable, you know, it matches with the beer quite well. Like I say, still got this quadruple IPA sitting here. And yeah, it matches quite well, it brings out some of the more fruity flavours of the beer. So, you know, I'm really happy with that. This is easy, pretty good. Easily pretty good. This shows you who's going to the head. The fries, let's see what these are like just on their own. Oh yeah, that's nice. Obviously they would have been very, very fresh when they were brought to me like 10 minutes ago or so. But I think at the temperature they're at, I have to admit, I like fries when they're just in that phase of cooling down. I don't like fries when they're piping hot and they're going to, you know, burn your tongue and stuff like this. I think you get a little bit more, there's a nice level of saltiness to this one. This one's a little bit more crispy. Yeah, very well cooked. Don't know how well you're going to see that, point it at the camera. Obviously face recognition technology stops that from showing to you, but the fries are very well cooked actually, and they've just got a nice, very slight saltiness to them. Let's try it with the ketchup. Let's see, there's a lot of ketchup here. You will notice that if you come to mainland China, they love their sauce. They love sauce. So yeah. Oh dear, I just saw an umbrella get blown over outside. That was a bit crazy. Didn't think I would see that. I was waiting for it to go. Need to tell the guy in a second, but yeah. The ketchup on this one, I think it is just Heinz in all honesty. It really just tastes like Heinz. So yeah, the fries and the pizza on this one are pretty damn good. Let's leave it at that for this. I don't think we need to say too much. A security guy just came in to tell the guy about his umbrella blowing over. So yeah, it's all happening here at Mingri today. But yeah, I'm going to enjoy the rest of this and I'll film another beer review in a little bit. This has been quite an interesting one. Umbrellas blowing over, me being a little bit drunk from the quadruple IPA. Yeah, I'll catch you guys in a second when hopefully I've sobered up a little bit. Cheers. Right guys, time for our fourth and final tasting then here at Mingri in Shanghai. So the last beer that we're going to have a look at today is another beast in all honesty. The quadruple IPA that we tried in the last tasting was very heavy, but it was very enjoyable. But they have a style of beer on tap that is very close to my heart, and I thought, you know, we really need to check this one out. So the next beer that we're going to have a look at is a special version of this beer, Burning Fire Wee Heavy. The original one comes in at 10.2% ABV, and this is of course a Wee Heavy Scotch ale. So yeah, I think this should be quite interesting. Now, from what I was told, the particular version that I'm drinking has a little bit of coconut in it, so it's slightly different from this one, but it is the same base beer, so it should be roughly around the same percentage and things. But yeah, you can see this beer pours a lovely dark sort of chestnutty mahogany colour. If we shine the light through it, the beer actually does have a good little bit of kind of ruby colour to it, but I'm not sure how well that's going to show up on the camera for you guys. Not much in the way of visible carbonation, but again, the beer is pretty clear actually. So yeah, when it comes to the Scotch ale, the Wee Heavy, there's a few things to think about. So basically, the term wee heavy was coined by the Americans when they took this style. And of course, when the Americans take a beer style, they make it sweeter, they make it bigger, they make it bolder. That's just kind of how it goes. So in comparison to the original Scottish brewed Scotch ales, the American ones are a little bit more kind of oily and sweet, and their fruits are a little bit more kind of bright and rounded, whereas the traditional Scottish Scotch ales have a bit more kind of toasty character to them, and the fruits are a little bit drier. But generally speaking, it's quite a brown bready, sweet caramelly, red fruity kind of beer, this one. That's what you get out of the Scotch ale. In Scotland, we have the shilling system, and the shilling was what was used before pence came in. So yeah, essentially with the shilling system, you have 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90 shilling beers. And basically, the more malt you had in the beer, the more alcohol you had, and thus you had to pay more tax. So this is the basic principle of the shilling system. So 30 to 90 shilling was quite common, but you do also get 160 shillings, which are the bigger, bolder things. Most modern American takes on the Scotch ale style tend to be based on either the 160 or the 80, 90 shilling sort of thing. So we'll just need to see how this one kind of plays into that whole style category, if you like. But being 10% ABV, I'm guessing it's probably going to be along the lines of a 160 shilling. Appearance wise though, as I said, it doesn't really have anything surprising about it. You would expect a Scotch ale to be this kind of chestnutty, mahogany brown colour. So let's have a little look at the nose and see what this beer has in store for us. Yeah, so it's a lovely smelling beer, this one, absolutely. The backbone of the beer, you have that lovely, slightly toasty, rye bready character in there. There's a little bit of woodiness, there's a little bit of nuttiness. Of course, you've got a lot of rye bread in this one. Sweet brown bread as well. Almost a little bit of like a kind of brown sugary sponge cakey type thing too. Toasty brown sugars in there. Yeah, toasty brown sugars in there. Sweet caramel. A little bit of nuttiness, as I said. Yeah, treacle molasses is a big thing in this one too. You can smell that little bit of like toasty coconut in this beer as well. There's a little bit of almost vanilla character comes out of this one as well, which is very, very interesting. Yeah. All in all, the aroma of this beer, I think, is really quite quirky. I do really like how everything kind of pieces together in this one. Yeah, the more that you smell of this beer, the more vanilla and sort of coconut you get out of this one. But on the hoppy side of things, there's a little bit of earthiness in there, there's a little bit of herbal character, a little bit of floral aromaticity, a little bit of grassiness. But of course, when it comes to Scotch ales, the hoppiness is not the biggest component of the beer. But yeah, good little bit of plum, little bit of prune, date, sultana, raisin in there. Lots of there's a lot of black currant in this one. Yeah, there's a lot of black currant in here. I don't know if I'd go quite as far as saying like sharper blackberry and stuff. But yeah, it gives you everything you would want from a Scotch ale. The aroma of this one is very, very promising. So as I always say, take a little bit of time to enjoy the aroma of the beer before you get stuck into it. But I think it is about time for us to try this one now. So yeah, this is the Burning Fire Wee Heavy, a special edition with coconut added into it from what I gather. A Scotch ale, our last beer here at Mingri Brewing in Shanghai. Let's get stuck in. Slàinte, skål, cheers, Gambé. That's pretty damn good, I have to say. Yeah, I got quite excited when I saw this one on the menu, and I was very curious to try it. As you saw at Great Leap Brewing the other day, that was some sort of sour Scotch ale that tasted more like a Flanders Red, so I was a bit disappointed by that. But to find this one here at Mingri, I'm very, very happy about. So thumbs up to these guys for doing this beer, and I think they've done it very well. I will say that this is a very, very good Scotch ale, so a big thumbs up to the Mingri guys. Yeah, in terms of the style with this one, this is definitely like a 160 shilling Scotch ale. This one, it's very sweet, very oily, very slick, but it's a very, very good beer, this one. I think this is going to be a nice way to kind of sign off from Mingri. The only thing that might change that is if they do have like a nice stout and things, but as I say, they serve their beers in quite big measures here. That's the only kind of complaint I can have about here, is that yeah, you can't really buy beers like 150 milliliters, it seems. So yeah, for me, the overall vibe of this beer, I think, is very good. Backbone of the beer, toasty, rye bready bread crust in there. Further forward on that middle third of your palate, you've got a really nice kind of yeah, as I say, you've got a really nice little bit of woody note there further forward, a little bit of nuttiness as well, and then there's a layer of kind of cracker just sitting on top of that. Yeah, there's a sort of Jacob's cream crackery type note sitting on top of that, but then yeah, above the bread crust you've got this lovely, very sweet rye bready layer coming out of the beer, and that lingers there into the aftertaste. Then it's wholemeal brown bread above that, a little bit of nuttiness in there too. Yeah, a little bit of a kind of sweet wholemeal brown bread in there. Like I say, there's a sort of nuttiness embedded into that. Then above all of that, you start to get the brown sugars. So you can feel there's a sort of toasty brown sugar in the base there. Then you've got this more oily, like sweet caramelly layer. And then in the dead center of your palate, you have this like treacle molasses sort of thing with this one. Maybe just surrounding that, you've got a little bit of a Werther's Original butter candy butterscotch, and certainly there's some biscuity elements surrounding that as well. But yeah, the way that everything pieces together in this beer is pretty interesting. Yeah. Out of that middle third of the palate, like I say, you get more nuttiness and you get the coconut into the aftertaste as well, and it's quite toasty, the coconut flavour actually. But on the back third of your palate, you get the yeasty side of the beer, so you can feel the sweet rye bread in there, the sweet brown bread, the more toasty bread crusty characters as well. And yeah, the way that all of that pieces together, I think, is really interesting. So yeah, on the hoppy side of things, back corners of the palate, you've got a nice little bit of earthy character in there. Wee bit of earthy note as well. As you move further forward, it becomes a little bit more oily and floral, and round the front curve of the tongue, it's a little bit more kind of oily and grassy, I would say. And then yeah, the fruity side of this beer is very, very nice too. So for me, the fruity side of things with this one, it's yeah, it's quite a dry fruity character that comes out of the beer. For me, at the back of that front third of your palate, there's a mixture of like plums, prunes. Underneath that, you've got kind of some sultana, some kind of raisiny notes in there, dates as well, figs. As you move further forward, it becomes a little bit more kind of black curranty. So yeah, definitely some black currant in there. Some yeah, so a nice little bit of black currant in there. And on top of that, maybe yeah, there's a little bit of fig, and there's also that little touch of like blackberry and things. Like I say, the fruity side of this beer, the way that this is done, this is a very, very nice Scotch ale, I will say that. So to find a Scotch ale in Shanghai for me is pretty cool actually. I would love to get a can of this and take it home and things, but like I say, I don't have the checked baggage and stuff to do that. So maybe another time I will come to Shanghai and take a few more beers home to review, but I just wanted to visit Brewpubs this time and it's been pretty nice. So yeah, this is a very nice way to kind of round off my time here at Mingri for sure. Really, really enjoyable beer, this one. So yeah, to round off this particular tasting then, mouthfeel wise, this beer is pretty full bodied. Carbonation is very, very smooth, quite an oily, slick beer, this one. IBU count is quite low, maybe like 20 or something. The malty base in this beer, the backbone is a little bit drier, some smoother character in the middle, the oily sweetness on top, but that gets drier into the aftertaste, like I said. And then yeah, you've got that oily, fruity character into the aftertaste. But all in all, very, very nice beer, this one. And I'm glad I got to try this. I've been missing Scotch ales. There's not too many of them available in Hong Kong, of course. So to come up to Shanghai and try one was great. So yeah, this is a special edition of Burning Fire Wee Heavy with coconut added into it. A 10.2% at least wee heavy Scotch ale, this one. Definitely worth trying. I'll catch you guys in just a second. Like I said, this will probably be my last tasting here, but we'll see how it goes. I'll catch you guys in a second with something else. Cheers. Right guys, well that is my time over then here at Mingri Brewing in Shanghai. As you can tell, I'm back outside, you can hear the cicadas and stuff like that. So yeah, I had a really nice couple of hours here. I got to try 4 different beers and I was impressed with all of them actually. The lager that we tried at the start was good and enjoyable, maybe not quite as true to the style as I would have hoped, but the West Coast IPA, the New England IPA and the Scotch Ale were all really, really good quality beers, so I was very, very happy with those. They were higher in ABV, so yeah, I did feel the alcohol go to my head a little bit with those, but still, I really enjoyed it. The pizza and fries that I tried were really nice as well, you know, good quality beer food, so you can't really ask much more than that. But all in all, a very, very positive experience here at Mingri Brewing, and I certainly wouldn't hesitate to come back. So it was 375 RMB for the food and the beer during this video, so that translates to about 400 Hong Kong dollars, about 40 pounds sterling, maybe in the region of like 45 euros, $50 American, something like that. But yeah, really quite happy with the time that I spent here, impressed with the quality of beers. The only thing I would criticise is that a few of the things in the menu weren't what they actually had on tap. Like the Scotch Ale that I tried was a slightly different version from that was in the menu. 1 or 2 of the other things that were listed there weren't available. So yeah, it could be a little bit of a mix up in terms of language and things like that, but it could also just be that they need to update the menu a little bit more kind of clearly and things. But all in all, very, very positive experience at Mingri Brewing. The beer is very good quality, the food is good, you can't really ask for much more than that. So a very positive first experience of craft beer here in Shanghai. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this out and about video. As always, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Mingri Brewing. Check out my social media, check out their social media, and I'll catch you guys in another out and about video very, very soon. But yeah, this was Mingri Brewing in Shanghai in mainland China. Until the next time, Slàinte, Skål, cheers, Gambi, and I'll catch you guys in the next one very, very soon. Ciao just now.